Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a video on all of my favorite blushes. This has been a lot of trial and error over the years, coming from a former blush hater, because in the past several years of my life I've thought that blush made me look clownish. I could never find complementary shades. I would much rather use like just the same blush every single day. And I've found a new soft spot for blushes. These all are specifically kind of nude-ish tones. I have a couple corally and like terracotta-y shades in here, but really focusing on like my favorite everyday colors. So there's nothing super pink in this lineup, and these are all blushes that I would consider my everyday favorite staple blushes. Now, if you'd like to see more versions of this, like my favorite pink toned blushes, I can do that, and I'll talk more about pinks and like what I look for when I'm trying to find a pink blush. But these are like, to me, the best of the best, and we do have quite a few to talk about. I'm gonna do demos and swatches of all of these so you can see what they look like on my skin. Throughout this video, all the blushes are my favorite. So they're not really ranked in, you know, like the way that I mention them is not necessarily like making them favorites over the other ones. However, I did want to start off with my top 3 current favorites, and I really wanted to start off with this one because I do feel like this is actually being discontinued, which of course, right? There are still several retailers that you can get this blush on, so I'll link it down below. But like I said, I feel like I just have an inkling that it's going to be discontinued because Sephora is kind of phasing it out almost, where there's only one shade left, and I feel like that's always one of the first signs that something's getting discontinued. So this is from RMS. This is the Redimension Hydra Powder Blush, and the shade that I am the most obsessed with is Maiden's Blush. Now this is a stunning powder blush that is just ultra luminous and a really gorgeous soft cinnamon with just the right amount of sheen to it, to where it really does reflect back a gorgeous amount of light on the skin. And the color, just everything about it is perfect. It's not overly pink, it's not overly brown. It really just looks like a natural flush on your cheeks, and I think that's what I like so much about this blush. I feel like it really goes with everything, all the way from natural no makeup looks all the way to really dramatic smoky eyes, because a tone like this is not going to compete with whatever else you're wearing. So it's not necessarily a punchy or statement type of blush, but just kind of like that perfect sweet spot of your ideal everyday blush. So I have been so in love with this. I also find this blush to be really nice and pigmented, so a little bit goes a long way for me, and I like the formula. Although it is a powder, I feel like it's really similar to a lot of other powder formulations that I like, where it never looks like crepey or dry, and because it has that really great bounce back to it, it looks a little bit more juicy on the apple of the cheek, and I adore this blush so much. I do have a couple other shades of this formula that I really like, but I really wanted to spotlight Maiden's Blush because I feel like this is just like a perfect tone. Another one that I feel like is literally no surprise at all, because I spotlight this on all my platforms, is the Merit Cheek Color in Terracotta. I was gonna say stick, but it's not really a stick. It's more of like this little pod. Now, Terracotta, I think, is again one of those perfect non-competing types of shades. So really ideal for people that like more natural makeup on a day-to-day basis, and you just want like a little kiss of color on the apples of the cheeks, but also really nice if you do wear dramatic makeup, because it's not going to compete with your eyes and you don't have to worry about anything turning too clownish. I think it's got the most gorgeous amount of warmth to the color. It's semi-sheer, so it's not too opaque, and it sets down on the skin with this really nice dewy sheen. Now, I never have issues with this breaking down or wearing faster throughout the day because I have a drier skin type. I find that creams work really well. They just tend to mesh with my skin really nicely. If you are a little bit more oily, you can set these down with translucent powder, and I don't find that to interact with the formula all that much, aside from of course toning down that little bit of sheen to the product. But the color is just this gorgeous toasty apricot nude, and I find it to be like one of my most worn colors of all time. So I love Terracotta. This next one is actually the one that I'm wearing today on my cheeks. I'm genuinely obsessed with this, and I also have it in on my eyelids as well to kind of like pull my whole face together. So this is Gucci's Rosy Beige. Honestly, I picked this up on a whim. I was looking at the Gucci section in Sephora, and this is, you know, more cool toned leaning, which I typically don't go for, but something about this just looked so pretty, and it's a really gorgeous luminous matte finish on the skin. So it's not quite as luminous as the one from RMS. You can really tell just like looking at the RMS one in the pan, there's so much flashback, whereas the Gucci one, it's a little bit more subdued. And I just think everything about this blush is perfect. It does lean like a little bit more on the cool side, but it's so soft and it still has a little bit of warmth to it that it does, you know, kind of like wake up the skin tone and look really beautiful. And then I love that finish, how it just kind of bounces back light on all the areas that you put it. So it's kind of like a blush and highlighter in one. So in love with this blush. I think it's really special because, like I said, it's cool toned but super flattering. I find it to be soft, feminine, just a very girly vibe to this blush, and I love it so much. So those are basically my top three. I always find myself reaching for them, and if I don't have anything else that I want to wear specifically, I can always default to one of those. So moving into my other favorites, I want to start off with the WESTMAN Atelier Baby Cheeks Blush Stick. This one's in the shade Petal. There's something really special about this shade Petal specifically because it's kind of like a rosy mauve, but it's got a really beautiful amount of purple to it, and I think it just looks so feminine and pretty on the cheeks. It's got this really gorgeous opaque formula. It's really nice and creamy, just blends into your skin so seamlessly and so dreamy. And I think this looks so pretty on eyes, cheeks, and lips, again, for like a little bit of a feminine monochromatic look. And the formula of this is so nice because it's really opaque. The tiniest bit goes the longest way. But if you are somebody who wants something that's a little bit more punchy, I love the buildability of this product, because if you want a blush that's a little bit more of a statement, like amount of blush, like not necessarily a statement color, but a more dramatic amount of color on the cheeks, I think this is so nice for that. It's a very versatile formula in my opinion, and I love just being able to throw this in my purse. I can put it on the lips, put a little bit of gloss on top, just dab it on the cheeks, and then run a little bit on the eyelids for just a little bit of color as well. And I love this color. This one's not particularly luminous either. I just find it to be more of like a satin cream finish, so it's nowhere near as dewy as the one from Merit. So if you tend to like something that's got a little bit more of a soft powdered finish, I think you'd really like this because it's not like a balmy type of cream. Victoria Beckham Beauty's Cheeky Posh Playground is a gorgeous true nude cream blush. First of all, I really like the size of this product. I think it's just a little bit easier to maneuver around the face. I like that it's not quite as chubby as some other cream sticks, but the shade of this is really stunning. Again, like a nice fully opaque cream. This one's a little bit more sheeny than the one from WESTMAN Atelier, but not as dewy as the one from Merit. And I like how this is kind of like a true cinnamon nude. It's got this warm nuttiness to it, which I really love. And I think this blush specifically is also super gorgeous because it's seasonless. So this looks good summer, fall, spring, winter, whenever you want. It's just gonna add that little bit of pinched color to the cheeks, and again, really stunning on the lips and the eyes. So that's kind of the nice thing about nude blushes. If you get the right formula, you can use it all over the face and it makes a really complimentary look. But this tone, again, specifically, I think it pairs so nicely with really dramatic looks, but also really natural looks as well. And I love the formula. Again, if you want something that's gonna be cream and kind of mimic your skin's texture without being a little bit too emollient or balmy on the skin, I don't think you can go wrong with this one, because I find it to stay in place pretty well. But of course, if you set this one with a translucent powder, it's really just gonna stay even more, and you're really gonna amp up that longevity as well. So this next one is Spicy from SAIE, and this is like a very dramatic terracotta shade. I love this because it looks like a sunburnt type of color on the skin. So if you tend to like those types of blushes that make you look like you've been out in the sun for a little bit too long and you really get that warm toastiness to the complexion, this spicy shade is for you. Now the SAIE ones are very, very pigmented, but they have this really nice kind of gel-like formula. So the more you wear of it, the more impactfulness you're gonna get from the shade specifically. However, I do feel like they sheer out really nice, which is how I like to wear them. And I find the shade Spicy to just be really versatile in the sense that you can wear it underneath your foundation for a little bit of heat peeking out from behind the complexion base, or you can wear it on top and it's going to be obviously more impactful that way. But I think my favorite way to wear this is actually underneath my tinted moisturizer. I think it just peeks out from behind it a little bit more realistically and kind of looks like that heat on your cheeks is coming from the complexion versus like just a blush product. But it looks scarier than it is, I promise. This is such a stunning, easy to work with shade, and I feel like this is a really great statement color. So this is really the look. You can put this all over the cheeks, bring it up to the nose, eyes, and it just really kind of wakes up the complexion in a way that it looks like you've actually been on vacation. It's stunning, it's special, and it's a really great statement blush. Now, I know you've seen me rave about the powders from this line because I am absolutely obsessed. I have 2 different shades so that I can wear it pretty much all year round depending on the season and my skin tone, but I love the blush from the Givenchy Prism Libre line. Now, the shade I really like is number 4, which is Organza Sienne, and this is like a beautiful desert rose, but it has kind of like this clay, like this red clay undertone to it, and the powder itself creates the most gorgeous filtered kind of soft focus blur on the cheeks. It is exquisite, and I think that's why I like the setting powders from this line so much, and that's why I like the blush so much from this line. And the shade of this blush is really unique. It's kind of one of those blushes, again, that's going to give you a little bit of that toasty, kind of been out in the sun a little bit too long type of flush. There's also a really nice quality about this blush that I love so much because I feel like it kind of emulates the Parisian girl makeup look so perfectly. It's the way the blush sits on the skin, it's the tone of this blush. I don't know, I would say for me personally, this is a all year round type of shade because I like it that much, and I think this shade specifically is just more so going to complement your skin tone, where again, it's not like a statement color blush, so if that's what you're going for, you might not love this as much. But if you want just like that healthy post-workout, post being in the sun type of flush, then this is for you. And I feel like the blurring effects that this has on your skin and the way it makes your skin literally look milky and filtered is incredible. So I love this, and it's like the same concept as the setting powders, if you're familiar with that, where there's different tones in each quadrant. So there's 4, and then you mix them together and create the shade, or you can isolate them if you want to put your finger over the little slots of a certain shade and kind of just use one color at a time. But when they're mixed together, like I said, think sun, desert terracotta clay, that really gorgeous tone. This just replicates that so nicely, and you'll love the way, like, you'll love the finish of it on your cheeks and the way it like blurs the pores on your cheeks. Like, you're gonna love it. Next up, we have the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veil. This one's in the shade Barely Blushing, which is my favorite. I wear this one so much because it's a very ideal formula for me. So if you have used the Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer, it's a very similar formula to that, if not identical, except that one obviously like bronzes the skin. But if you are familiar with that, it's kind of this really sheer balmy product, and it's meant to be worn a little bit more sheer just to add a kiss of color to the skin. Some people don't like that because they want something a little bit more impactful. I personally really like that, and I like that this blush isn't so full on at once. So for me, it's like really ideal for every day. The tone of this is so pretty. Again, just gonna replicate a natural flush on your skin, and it's not gonna look like blush. So these types of colors, like Merit Terracotta, and then this Mario Barely Blushing blush, and a few others that I'm gonna mention as well, these types of tones are not the type of blushes that people are going to say, oh my gosh, what shade of blush are you wearing? I love that blush that you're wearing. So it's not a statement blush, but it's going to enhance your complexion and look like you just have that healthy complexion without people being like, oh my god, I love your like bubblegum pink blush, or oh my god, I love your, you know, orange peachy blush. It's gonna look more like you just have a natural flush going on, and that's what I like personally. So I love that this is balmy, it's dewy, it mimics your skin's texture, it blends in so seamlessly, and especially if you use the bronzer version of this paired with this, it's like the most perfect dewy, like model off duty type of vibe. It's stunning. I have a couple other shades that I really like from this line. I really like Rose Crush and then one of the pink ones, but Barely Blushing is like the one that I feel like this looks like the type of shade that I always go for. And I knew when I saw these blushes, I knew that this was gonna be my favorite shade because it's like what I go for. This shade specifically, Barely Blushing, I would say is a little bit more of a beigey, creamy nude. There's a little bit of like a baby pink to this, but it's not going to wash you out or look too cool tone because it still has that really nice soft amount of pink to it. So it's like a little bit more lighter and just kind of adds like that dewy, glossy sheen to your skin, which I love so much. And I like that this is a little bit more of like a soft nude compared to like a brown nude. We have to talk about this. This is from DIBS. If you follow me on any of my other platforms, my Instagram or my TikTok, you know I have been like going crazy over DIBS lately. It's not a new brand, but it's newer to me. I've only recently tried it for the first time within the past like 2 months. And I've been genuinely excited over everything I've tried, loved everything I've tried, and been like completely impressed with the formulas of all of these makeup products and their brushes. Their makeup brushes are really good too. But you've seen me rave about 5.5. That's the blush shade Why Not, which I love. But I found a new favorite and I've been wearing it nonstop. This is the shade Not So Basic, and it is like literally my dream burned papaya. I am not joking when I say that I cannot emphasize enough how much of a perfect papaya tone this is. I am obsessed with it. Obsessed. I think this is like not only the most like pretty shade for like summer, but also going into fall when you're like still have a little bit of that sun-kissed color and you really want something to complement that skin tone. I think it's perfect, especially for people that have like kind of like a medium to medium deep or like even deeper skin tones. It's really hard to find papaya and like coral tones that suit a more medium skin tone, and it looks pretty on your lips too. It's so stunning. This is like not typically a shade that I would go for because I feel like I love papaya tones, but it's so rare that I find one that I actually love so much. And I will say I feel like this is one of the most, probably the most perfect papaya toned blush I've ever found. I am so excited about it. I love the formula. I think these are just so nice. They're so emollient. They blend into your skin so beautifully. They're really nice and dewy, really nice and pigmented as well. And I'm just blending it out on my hand so I can kind of like show you. But, well, I'm gonna swatch them, so I guess I don't really have to show you. But, and I think it's the perfect statement blush because it's not too over the top, but it's definitely the blush shade where like you'll be wearing it and people will be like, the blush that you're wearing is really cute. I like that. What blush is that? This is the type of shade that will give you that. So like, it's gonna, you know, pop on the cheeks and give you a little bit more of a punchy look without being like over the top. And like I mentioned in my other video, all of the DIBS products smell addicting. They smell like candy. It's incredible. I've also given so much love to this product because I adore it. So many of the shades I think are so beautiful, but in terms of blush, I really love the SAIE Glow Sculpt in Mauve Glow, and I literally just like tap my finger into it because the heat of your hands will kind of melt it down, and then apply it to the face, blend it out with a brush. Now, what I love so much about Glow Sculpt is that it's basically like if your blush and your highlighter had a baby, but also like if your illuminator and kind of like a dewy face primer was mixed in there. The formula is very balmy, very creamy, and it has this really gorgeous like soft foiled finish on the skin. So use it sparingly. Like you don't need a ton of this because you can definitely go a little bit overboard to where it will kind of like lose its appeal. Honestly, like if you put too much on, I don't say that in a negative way, but I say if you use a little bit too much, I don't think you're gonna like it. It's really meant to be worn sheerly on the cheeks, but it makes a gorgeous blush topper as well. So if you have a matte blush that you really wanna revive and bring some extra life to, you can pop this right on top. I think it's gorgeous on its own. The thing that I also think is so special about the shade Mauve Glow, and the reason like I love it so much, I'm so drawn to this shade, is because there's something about it that reminds me of my grandmother in the best way possible, because I feel like it truly has this vintage mauve pink tone to it, and it's just not quite as like purpley or lavender as some other mauves. It's just the right tone of mauve, and it has that really gorgeous kind of like soft frosted finish to it, which again kind of takes me back to like different times of makeup, but it's a more modernized formula, and it's just really really flattering. And quite honestly, just like a really, really special shade too, so I love it. This next one is probably the newest favorite to my all-time favorite collection, but I kid you not, I've been wearing it a ton lately, and I'm so impressed with the formula as well. So this is the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blush. I have it in the shade Rose and Brunch, which I actually waited quite some time to get this specific shade. This shade was sold out for a while, and I just kind of sat and waited for it to come back in stock because this is the color that I really wanted. And the formula of this is incredible. It is so pigmented, it will blow your mind. It's crazy pigmented. Now, the thing I really like about this blush is that it kind of has this soft powder balm finish. So if you are familiar with the Yummy Skin Blurring Balm, it's a very similar formula to that. Obviously, this one has blush pigments in it and everything, but it sets down to the skin in a really unique way that's kind of hard to describe. But it has a blurring effect on the skin to where if you have any textured bits or, you know, more visible pores in the center of your face, where you put blush, this is such an ideal formula because it helps to blur those out and almost kind of like fill in those divots in a really nice natural way and give you, again, like a really gorgeous soft focus pinched look on the cheeks. Now, when I tell you that like one light dip into this product with your brush is going to give you insane payoff, I mean that. Like, start off with a little bit and then slowly build it up. The thing that I also really like about the formula of this blush is it kind of like sets down and like almost dries to the skin, not in a way that it's like industrial proof or anything, but it's not going to move around and it's not going to be slick and tacky all day. So it's a cream and it looks like a cream, but it doesn't feel like a cream. It's kind of wild. You kind of have to feel it for yourself, but you know what I mean. The shade Rose and Brunch on my skin tone specifically, I really like how this is kind of like a rosy terracotta. So there's definitely those gorgeous pink tones in the blush itself, but I also feel like on my skin, I see this really nice undertone of kind of like a clay-like terracotta. So a little bit more punchy and feminine than a typical terracotta blush, but a really gorgeous shade nonetheless. And I love the formula of this blush. I love it. I don't have anything else of this like type of formula in my blush collection. This next one's actually a repurchase. Believe it or not, I do use up blushes when I really like them. And this one I feel like it's been 2 years, 3 years maybe that I've really been in love with this blush. This is the Tower 28 Beach Please Cream Blush, and it's in the shade Magic Hour. This is, again, a milky, rosy nude. But the thing that I really like about this is even though it's like a dewy blush, it can be sheared out really nice to where it literally will not even look like you're wearing makeup at all. And again, it just goes with everything. The tone is really nice and light, but the actual product itself is really, really dewy, and I love that because I have a dry skin type. So the more you wear of it, obviously, the more of that glossy glisten you're gonna get on the apple of the cheek, but I think this is such a stunning shade. And like I said, I know I probably haven't really shown it in videos that much recently because after I repurchased it, I, for whatever reason, hadn't leaned back into it, but I was like going through my blush collection and I was like, you repurchased this because you used up one almost entirely. So full disclosure, my other one, I had completely hit pan in the middle and there was like a little bit of product left around the rim, but it was starting to change in formula. So I was like, okay, clearly I really like this. It's a good everyday shade. And the thing that I like about this blush so much is that I literally will, like, I'll do it right now. Even though I have powder on, you will see this will not lift up my foundation, and this is literally how I would apply it every single day. You don't even have to use a brush. I'm putting it on top of setting powder, bronzer, another blush. Do you see how it like doesn't cause any lifting at all? And this is like so creamy. Like you can literally see it's so shiny. And you can literally just pop it right on the apples of your cheeks. So if you are somebody who like doesn't like using a lot of brushes, or you really just want a shade that will go with everything, you want this one. And the formula, like I said, it's like uber dewy. It's probably the dewiest blush I have in my collection, but because I'm putting it on top of powder, look, there's no lifting. I just put a little bit more on both of my cheeks, and it's just setting on top of my makeup so nicely. And that's why I love this blush so much, because it basically permanently lived in my purse. I would throw it on right before I left, do touch-ups with it throughout the day. If you have literally been running errands, or I don't know, whatever it is, and you just feel like you need that little extra pep, this will give it to you. I'm gonna get back into using this all the time because I love this. And you saw, like, I feel like I'm not emphasizing how amazing this product is itself. Like, it is so creamy, and you would think something like this with a formula like this would wreck your makeup and you wouldn't be able to touch it up or put it on top of powder, or like it's just gonna cause foundation lifting. This is magical and it's amazing. It is called Magic Hour. So I've basically gone on and on about how I'm always loving a terracotta, kind of like coral, papaya, like that type of undertone. Like, I really like those clay-like blushes, and this one is one of my all-time favorites in that shade range. This is Chanel's In Love, and I'm obsessed. I feel like I might not have mentioned it quite as much on YouTube, my love for this blush, but I think it is such a gorgeous, softer version of a punchy blush. So if you are familiar with Chanel makeup, it's not really meant to be this statement poppy blush on the cheeks. And that's what I like about the Chanel makeup, the base makeup specifically. A lot of the color cosmetics for the face, they're really easy to work with because they're not quite as intense. And this tone, again, is that really gorgeous orangey terracotta shade that's going to really emphasize and flatter a medium skin tone in a really soft feminine way. But the unique thing about In Love is it has the softest gold luminous pearl throughout the formula itself. So you get this really unique kind of like fiery flashback from the blush. It really just complements a medium skin tone so perfectly. If you have like medium skin, dark hair, dark eyes, this is one of those blushes that's just going to somehow perfect your look and just look like the right shade of blush on your skin tone. And that gold luminous pearl in the blush is really just like the icing on top because it complements the color of the blush so well. And you get this really nice, unique, soft gold pearl. Like, it's not an intense gold pearl, but it's just different enough that you'll be able to tell that there's something extra special about this blush. But it's very sheer, okay? So it's not gonna be like punchy or super intense on your cheek. So if that's the type of blush you're going for, this isn't worth the investment. But if you do like a nice everyday type of color and you like something sheer, something easy to work with, I think it is worth the investment because it's like one of my favorite tones of blush that I've ever found. The last one I want to mention is from Iris and Romeo. This is their multi-use ceramide balm in the shade Warm Flush. This one looks very scary when it's swatched, so you'll have to see it on the cheeks, but it looks really intense in tube. However, when it's swatched on the skin, you can see it shears out really nice. Now, this one, in comparison to like something like the Westman Atelier, just what I'm telling you, I guess I don't know where I'm going with this, but what I wanted to touch on really quick was when I tell you that like some of these cream sticks are really opaque, this is what I mean. So you can see the Westman Atelier in comparison to the one from Iris and Romeo. So the Westman Atelier and the DIBS and then the one from Victoria Beckham, they're much more opaque even when they're blended out compared to this one. Even though the Iris and Romeo one is a really dark color, you can see it shears out like a gel. And that's what I wanted to highlight about the Iris and Romeo one, is that I really like the gel-like balminess to the stick. I think it really makes a color like that more wearable and just like easier to work with on the skin. And the shade of this is so unique. It's kind of like a hot chocolate sangria shade. So I think, again, really complementary to a skin tone similar to mine. It adds this complexity to the base where it just looks a little bit more unique, and you can't quite put your finger on what it is because it doesn't really look like a blush. It looks like color on the cheeks without looking like pink or, you know, nude or whatever it is. Like, it's just one of those special colors that enhances your complexion without looking like an actual product that you can like put your finger on what it is exactly that you're loving. Really nice and dewy, shears out. Like I said, gorgeous, kind of like hot chocolate sangria shade. It's got this like really nice jammy grapiness to the undertone while still being like brown on the skin. I don't know, it's beautiful, really unique. I don't have anything else like this in my collection, and I think this is gorgeous regardless of the season. And because it is sheer, it looks really pretty on the lips too. I obviously put like a little bit more gloss on top because I'm crazy and I like a little bit more gloss, but this is stunning. And again, same thing, you could put this on top of your makeup. It's not going to cause lifting. I would recommend using a brush and kind of dabbing it on versus like wiping it as a stick on your face. But the shade is so good, and even if this shade isn't for you, this line from Iris and Romeo, these balm sticks, I love. I have 3 of them. I can't get enough of them. I think the formula of this product itself is just like so good. And those are all my favorite blushes. I know these were all in the mid-tier to luxury section, but if you'd like to see a drugstore version as well, just leave a comment, let me know. And please let me know some other videos that you're really wanting to see right now. I would love to add them to my list of things to film in the future. I'm gonna list and link all of these blushes and put them in the description box down below for you, and I'll have the shades and everything. And seriously, RMS one, I feel like it's worth getting if you really like it, because I'm not 100% sure if it's being discontinued, but my spidey senses, they're just tingling about it. I just feel like it's going to be discontinued. So I'm not gonna get a backup because, like I said, it's super pigmented and I feel like this is gonna take me a really long time to go through, but I would highly recommend looking at it at least if it's something that you're interested in. So that's always like so annoying to me because I feel like a lot of times my favorite products that I recommend to you, they end up getting discontinued somewhere in the mix, and because I already own it, I'm not like actively shopping for it at the time, and then I'll like put it in a video and then I find out it's discontinued and I'm like, what? When did this happen? I will see you in my next video, and I would love it so much if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, if you'd come follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. I'll have those linked in the description box down below for you as well. Leave a comment just to say hi. I love talking to you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!